You might be closer to retirement than you think, or you might be further away. Hi, I'm Jason Bowers, financial planner, and welcome to my channel. So that's a very unique concept, and most people are in one of those two camps, closer than they think or further away than they realize. And it's not your age that decides this. It's whether you're measuring the right things. So if you're between age 58 and 64, have several $100,000 or even over $1 million saved for retirement, this video is for you. So what are those three numbers? Those three numbers that are very important that we measure in order to help us understand where are we at? Is there anything else we need to do? Are we ahead? Are we behind? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So that first number is the retirement income gap, the most important of the three. What is a retirement income gap? It's basically what you need versus what's guaranteed. So what does that mean? Well, we all have a pretty good idea of what it costs to live our life. Everything from paying bills to having fun and everything in between. Whether you're giving money to your kids, you're tithing, going to the movies, whatever it may be, that's what your life costs. When we transition into retirement, we're going to have certain sources of income that are guaranteed. It could be pensions, VA benefits, Social Security benefits, a couple different things that could be just guaranteed income. So the difference between what you need versus what is guaranteed is how you identify your income gap. And there might be somebody who has $1.2 million saved, but if they're short $5,000 a month, they could be in trouble. Or someone who has a third of that saved, but a really strong pension in the household, or heaven forbid, two pensions in the household, they're going to be in great shape. So it's really, how do you identify that gap? It's a very basic formula. You take what you need and you subtract out the income that's guaranteed, and there's going to be a gap there for most people. That gap is a very, very key number, because when you want to answer the question, am I ready? Am I on pace? Am I behind? It's understanding how long what you have saved and what you're projected to have saved will fill that gap. Because if that gap only gets filled until, let's say, your early 80s, that's not going to be a fun retirement. So depending on how soon you start this process and identify that number, it gives you the longer runway. Because if you are behind, the longer that you have to fix that, the much easier it is to make those changes. But identifying that gap is really, really key to understanding, am I on pace? Can I retire when I'd like to retire? Or do I still have some work to do? It also identifies how hard your savings is going to have to work in retirement. And the harder that it has to work, typically the more risk you take, the more uncertainty there's going to be, the probability of success is reduced. So while our assets are going to continue to work for us in retirement, we got to be careful how much we're asking of them, because they can only do so much. They're designed to fill that gap, and that gap needs to be filled for the rest of your life. And that second number is your withdrawal rate. This is your reality check number. It's really how much you're looking to withdraw from your portfolio every year for the rest of your life. And so what does that mean? Well, if you take your income gap, whatever that number may be, and divide it by your investable assets, it's going to give you a number, which is a percent. And if that percent is 3 to 4%, you're probably in pretty good shape. Keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to be able to hit your goals and your timeline, maybe even speed up your timeline. If that number is somewhere in the 5% range, maybe you're inching closer to 6%, now we're sweating a little bit, because you're now asking your portfolio to do more than it really is designed to do once you transition into retirement. And if you're at 6% or higher, we really have to look at your situation. You need to sit down with somebody and say, what do I need to do? Because that is more than likely just simply not sustainable for the long term. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to be able to retire. It does not mean that you got to start from square one. It's just, again, going back to that first number, that income gap, it's going to drive the other two to make sure that you understand, where am I at? It's that marathoners mentality. When they're running that marathon, the 26 miles, they have time checks in between there to let them know, are they on pace? Are they behind pace? You really want to understand where you're at. It's your situation. It's your goals. It's what you've been working for. Your portfolio doesn't care how confident you are. What it cares about is how much you're asking it to produce in retirement. And if our expectations of our nest egg are unreasonable, then that's on us. We need to change our expectations, or we need to drastically change what we're doing. And maybe our pile needs to be massive in order to meet those lofty expectations. So that's why I call the withdrawal rate that reality check number, because it does bring reality into focus. Am I on pace, or boy, do I have some work to do? So that's something to consider, is understanding your withdrawal rate. So Jason, what's that third number? And that third number is the retirement timeline gap. It's when you want to retire compared to when you can retire. So this is where really want to challenge your assumptions. We talk about that retirement timeline, and people always say, I'm retiring in 2 years. Well, you really need to switch that into a question. Am I financially ready to retire in 2 years, or is it 7? And it's really understanding that withdrawal rate, going back to that. And if your withdrawal rate works, then maybe you're on time or ahead of schedule. But if your withdrawal rate does not work because your income gap is too lofty for what you've saved, then you're not on schedule, and things need to change. And I've referenced a couple of times in this video, what things need to change, or we have a runway to make some changes and make some adjustments. Jason, what can I do in order to make those adjustments? What should those adjustments be? Well, generally speaking, there's really only 4 things that you can do in order to have a significant impact on your timeline. The one with the most impact, delay retirement. It knocks down a lot of dominoes in the right direction. First and foremost, when you get close to retirement, you're probably making more money than you've ever made. So by delaying retirement, you'll continue those years of high income. Those years of high income are partnered with more years of savings, more years of that match if you get one from your employer, more higher income years for your Social Security benefits, which are based off of your highest 35 years of earnings. So those last few years that you're delaying retirement are also typically going to increase your Social Security benefits. It also allows you to typically delay your Social Security benefits a few more years to get that growth as well. Most importantly, if you delay retirement a few years, it's also a few less years that you're now relying on that nest egg. So it's going to grow, and you're delaying when you're pulling from it. The other 3 things you can do: you can spend a little bit less money. If you do that before retirement, it then allows you to do number 3, which is save more money. If you partner that with spending a little less money in retirement, then that's going to lower your withdrawal rate need. The last thing you can do is you can take more risk and hope that the market helps out a little bit. Most people in this 58 to 64 age range, that's not the first thing they're looking to do, is take more risk. They're more than likely looking to dial back risk and create some protection scenarios. So those 4 things can have an impact if you're not financially ready to retire when you want to, and your window gets pushed further than you'd like it to be. So those 3 numbers is really going to put you in a position to get an idea of, where am I at? Is what I'm doing enough, or is it more than enough? You really want to understand where you're at. And so let's bring all of this together for a moment. So if you're in a position where you know those 3 numbers, you know your retirement income gap, you know your withdrawal rate, and you know your actual timeline for retirement, you'll know within minutes of whether or not you know that you're ready or that you're hoping that you're ready. So you need to sit down with your financial professional and have them help you come up with these numbers. Have them remove the emotions from that calculation and put real numbers on paper so you understand exactly where you are. If you need some help and you're not working with somebody, or you need a second opinion, my direct email address will be linked in the description or comments below. Feel free to reach out. We can schedule a virtual session and have that conversation to really identify the most important piece when planning for retirement later in life. And that's understanding where you are on your journey today, not guessing where you are, thinking you should be okay, maybe we're in the right place, but knowing. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.